that legislates a man's body, so why does mine have to be legislated? I've got to be.
I'm not interested in what your genitalia are.
Pleasure to meet you.
Ben Shapiro vs. Kamala Harris voters a heated debate on key issues. Introduction. In a recent debate, conservative commentator Ben Shapiro faced off against a group of Kamala Harris supporters, tackling contentious issues like abortion, immigration, and the events of January 6th. The discussion revealed deep divides in beliefs and highlighted the complexity of these topics. Delve into the key points of the debate, illustrating how Shapiro defended his positions while facing challenges from the audience. Abortion, a moral standoff. The debate on abortion was intense, with Shapiro asserting that Harris's stance is morally indefensible. He claimed that she would veto any restrictions on abortion, including late-term and partial birth abortions, framing it as abortion up to birth. This assertion sparked a challenge from an audience member who pointed out that most Democrats, including Harris, support some restrictions, particularly in early stages of pregnancy.
So she has not stated any abortion law that she would not veto. Right, so the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, for example, or late-term abortion bans, she would presumably veto that as President of the United States. That's the position that I'm taking in this particular prompt. Okay, so that is the position that I find morally indefensible. The argument that she's making, which is effectively abortion until birth should be in no way regulated, I find that to be morally indefensible.
Shapiro, however, doubled down on his position. He emphasized that Harris has not outlined any specific abortion laws she would support, suggesting that the majority of Democrats have failed to back any federal abortion legislation during his lifetime. He indicated that a consensus on a 15-week abortion ban common in Europe would likely be opposed by Democrats.
A majority of Democrats have not supported any abortion legislation on the federal level in my entire lifetime, nor do I suppose that they will. So if there were to be a consensus 15-week abortion ban, for example, which is about the status in Europe, I would assume that virtually all Democrats would vote against that 15-week abortion ban.
One audience member introduced the idea of a consciousness threshold defining life by when brain activity begins. Shapiro countered this by asserting that life begins at conception, framing it as a philosophical divide between scientific benchmarks and moral religious principles. This exchange highlighted the complexity of the abortion debate, with both sides entrenched in their views. Immigration, economic impact, and policy debates. The immigration discussion was equally charged. An audience member argued that immigration enriches America's labor force and economic potential, which contrasted sharply with Shapiro's stance on the need for strict regulation. He emphasized his preference for skilled, law-abiding immigrants who would not strain public resources, arguing that Harris's policies could make America less safe and economically unsound. Shapiro pointed to data showing that low-skill immigration incurs significant costs, particularly in emergency room usage and education demands. He expressed concern that an unregulated flow of low-skill workers would not be sustainable for the U.S. economy. The rebuttal came swiftly, questioning whether the lengthy immigration process incentivizes illegal entry.
I will let some of my colleagues here in the circle really talk about why they appreciate Kamala Harris's right shift when it comes to border policy, trying to deter the amount of people that are coming through the southern border. That's not something I'm particularly passionate about, so I'm more inclined to talk about specifically why you, somebody who purports himself as someone who's uber capitalist, want to remove the labor pool from this country, which always increases to business and economic growth.
A critical point was raised about the U.S.'s role in destabilizing countries from which people are fleeing. Shapiro maintained that all immigrants should enter the country legally, and that the U.S. should select individuals who can contribute positively to society. However, the audience member argued that without addressing the root causes of migration, policies would not effectively change the situation. January 6th accountability and political choices. The discussion turned to January 6th, a topic that is undoubtedly sensitive and controversial. One participant challenged Shapiro on his support for Trump, questioning how he could overlook Trump's inaction during the Capitol riots, particularly his tweet criticizing Mike Pence while violence ensued. This led to a complex dialogue about accountability and the implications of supporting a candidate whose actions could be seen as undermining democracy. Shapiro acknowledged that Trump should have done more to quell the violence, but argued that he did not endorse a violent uprising. He expressed discomfort with the events of January 6th, but maintained that he believes Trump's policies during his first term were better for the country compared to what Harris would offer. This stance drew criticism from those who felt that not holding Trump accountable sets a dangerous precedent for future political conduct. The discussion highlighted the struggle some voters face when weighing the importance of a candidate's actions against their policies. For Shapiro, the choice is framed as a binary one, choosing the lesser of two evils. The audience's reactions illustrated the divide in perspectives on this issue. Foreign policy, the Israel-Gaza conflict. Shapiro's views on the Israel-Gaza conflict added another layer to the debate. He argued that if Trump were still in office, the October 7th attacks by Hamas might not have occurred, attributing this to Trump's firm stance against Iran and his commitment to the Abraham Accords. This assertion ignited a passionate discussion about the realities on the ground in Gaza and the impact of U.S. foreign policy. One participant pointed out the dire conditions in Gaza, questioning how Shapiro could ignore the humanitarian crisis while focusing solely on Trump's foreign policy. Shapiro maintained that the October 7th attacks were a result of Iranian influence and that Hamas acted to disrupt peace efforts in the region. This exchange highlighted the complexity of foreign policy discussions, where historical context and current events intertwine.
Okay, so as far as allowing the violence to happen when he could have stopped it, I'm wondering exactly what he could have done given the fact that the Capitol Police were activated, in fact, pretty quickly in the middle of that debacle. As far as not committing to the peaceful transfer of power, do we mean verbally or in action? So I agree with you, verbally, he never suggested that I am going to leave, and then he did. So, so I'm not sure actually how much we disagree on this matter. I thought that January 6th was terrible. I thought that his behavior between the election of November 2020 and January 6th was bad.
Reflections on the debate. As the debate wound down, participants reflected on the experience. Some felt that Shapiro came across as better informed and more respectful than other conservative debaters, while others criticized his rapid-fire responses as lacking empathy. The debate raised important questions about how effectively arguments are made in such heated discussions. Shapiro's style, while engaging, sometimes glossed over deeper issues that warrant exploration. The debate illustrated a broader need for political discourse that goes beyond surface-level arguments, encouraging participants to dig deeper into the complexities of the issues at hand. Conclusion. In conclusion, the debate between Ben Shapiro and Kamala Harris voters was a vivid portrayal of the current political landscape, marked by deep divides on key issues. While Shapiro stood his ground on abortion, immigration, January 6th, and foreign policy, the audience's challenges highlighted the complexity and nuance of these discussions. Whether or not one agrees with Shapiro's positions, the debate underscores the importance of engaging in meaningful dialogue about the critical issues facing society today. What are your thoughts on the issues discussed? Did Shapiro effectively defend his positions, or do you believe he sidestepped critical questions? Join the conversation in the comments below.
That legislates a man's body, so why does mine have to be legislated? I've got a
I'm not interested in what your genitalia are.
Pleasure to meet you.